I don't know what the rules are for smoking on YouTube for one. Is it just tobacco? But I'm sitting in the back and I know the setup is kind of crazy, but oh well. Probably seeing a lot of these videos, I'm just gonna be saying oh well to the visual aspect or the sound quality or different stuff like that, because I'm really just in a state of, it's like, oh well, I don't have all of the things that I would like to have as far as certain mics and certain setups and all this different stuff, but I'm not gonna, move the goalposts to me just actually making something. So kind of gets to the conversation of what I wanted to talk about. And I had seen this video on my feed, on my YouTube video today, of this guy talking about, and I really wish I could remember his name off top, or his channel name, but he was talking about the difference between consumption and producing, the difference between being and doing activities that are based around consuming things, and then doing activities or being in the mindset of producing things. And that is a super big hurdle for a lot of people. Now, it's not an actual hurdle, but very much in the mind of people, that for anyone, whatever they want to do in the realm of producing, they have these ideas that they want to do and they want to act on. And there's something that exists to where they think that they need to continue to consume more information. They need to read another book, they need to study another video, they need to watch another podcast before they can get to some space to where, okay, I've checked all the boxes and now I can make the video, or now I can make the song, or now I could really be some content creator. He was talking about the fact that a lot, and I just resonated with this a lot, so I wanted to talk about it because I can notice those own tendencies in myself and in the past. And for a lot of people, my bad, for a lot of people, there's just this idea that you're gonna get to some level where you're actually ready. And I think that thought process and that mindset is actually what keeps us from just starting the journey. I've noticed that a ton in myself, in my journey with music. I write and I record or I make something, and unfortunately we compare it to people who are in different seasons or in different chapters. And you think, oh well, it's not ready, it's not done, it's not complete, it's not whatever label you put on it, but it is the moving of the goalpost to where your song don't get released, or that video that you made you don't actually put out. And there is a multitude of sometimes valid reasons that our mind likes to come up with as to why it's not ready. Really, why, that resonated with me, of what he was talking about, the difference between being in the consumer mindset or just actually creating. And he was drawing examples from his own life where he was like, I was doing consumer activities that were actually productive. And in the realm of just consuming things, you can do things that are very, very productive. Like, say, he was talking about reading books, and he had made a promise to himself that he was going to read a certain amount of books. And he consumed all this information, but he still had that kind of general anxiety or that thought process of like, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But the reading of the material was a productive thing to do. There was a lot that he learned. And there's, like I was saying, there's a spectrum in there. So that was a productive level of consumption, but it was still consumption. Then there was a level of consumption where it's like, we can think about scrolling, consuming social media, where it's like, it's not really actually that productive. You may get pieces of information or, get things that are relevant to you and where you're at, but you're still in a state of taking things in and being able to shift your mindset and your intention and your attention towards getting in the energy of producing things. I believe, just from observing myself, really comes from a place of understanding that where you're at is enough, and that's exactly where you should start from. No matter what, no matter, the lack of quote unquote resources that you think or you don't think that you have, the quality of what you think it is or you don't think it is, you still have to begin, and the time still passes regardless. So that just resonated with me so much, because I'm like observing that state within myself of where it's like, at what point my friend always, he conceptualized it in a way, and he was always harping on that, of where it's like, you got to get in the game. And that's the thing, is that, we look at the best in the game and we think, oh, well, you got to be that to participate. And while that is what it is at a high level, and that's what is being done at a high level, you still have to check in the game. You still have to get off the sideline and begin to participate in the game to even work through the journey of transcending up whatever perceived or actual ladder is present to climb in an industry, or to just refine what you do. And I think a lot of people, including myself, are kind of in that state. So I guess really the best thing that I could say to myself and to anyone else is just encourage the creation process. Don't live in the anxiety of what something needs or has to be, and just create. And that can be challenging for a lot of different people. But just because it's challenging doesn't mean it can't be overcome, and that you don't just find it within yourself to participate. He was talking about just those general anxieties that exist, where it's like, he was saying, like, you've consumed enough. You've consumed enough information. Now it's time to actually create. So I was also, it's January 18th today. And obviously there's a ton of talk about the TikTok stuff going on, and, the future of what's going to happen with that. And just thinking about that as well, to where it's like, what's going to happen for these creators? What platforms will they switch to? How will they, kind of diversify themselves to reestablish themselves on either a new platform or in a new way to do what they've done, because they have a lot of proof of product in their content creation on TikTok. And kind of looking at all of it, where it's like, whether or not TikTok continues to exist, those people will still create. They're gonna find a way to create. Whether or not things like the music industry are changing in the way that they are, every day there's somebody who's still writing and still recording, because, and that was another like real deep concept that he was getting to in the video, was we are designed to create. And I think so much of our frustration with ourselves and with our position in life and what we're not doing comes from a place of just not actually enjoying the creation process, without all the levels of comparison and the questions about the quality of what it is that you do. Just finding it in yourself to trust that we are made in the image. Whether you are a religious person or you're not a religious person is kind of irrelevant to the point, because whether a person calls it God or the source or Allah or Buddha, whatever thing that they believe in a religious aspect or in a spiritual aspect, or even somebody who doesn't believe in any of those things, you still can witness and see the creation process take place. And we see that all the time. The way that Mother Nature works is a process and a cycle of life and death, of creation and, dying and then rebirthing itself, and then dying and then rebirthing. So you can observe that in any way. It doesn't matter necessarily the religious aspect or the spiritual aspect or the philosophy that you choose to kind of believe and embody, but don't be somebody who has all the intention or all this visceral energy inside of them to want to create, and you're not actually creating. So I think that's the biggest thing of just allowing yourself to not be so caught up in the quality, because usually there is a trickle down conversation or even a more deeper root thing that is occurring when you're worried about the quality of the content or the music or the painting or the art that you create. Is that it's not just so much that you're really hell-bent on the quality. The deeper root thing is that you're hell-bent on controlling the narrative and perception around your art, in that you want it to be perceived, and you want you to be perceived in a certain manner. You don't want to think, okay, well, I'm a creative and then I create, and everything that people say about it is they say it's trash, or they say it's not good, or they say, well, you got some work to do. Well, then we start to, in those deep root places, then we start to make correlations that aren't really correlations. If somebody says my art is trash, then damn, maybe I'm not actually an artist like I thought I was. Or damn, maybe they're saying that about me as a person. So being able to observe the creation process accurately and with an awareness and with an observer effect, to where you don't always have to be so attached to whatever happens on the back end of the creation, and being able to know that I get to check a box for myself, and there's a victory for myself because I had an inclination to create, and I did. Letting that be a victory. Like my friend that I was referring to always says, playing the game is the victory. Imagine if we readjusted our metrics to understand that, and how important that actually is to understand that being a participant and playing the game, when you're at that kind of threshold point, the first standard, yes, you want to be a champion, you want to be a great, you want to be remembered, you want to be, top tier, you want all those things, and all those things are great because they kind of reflect, just the passion that exists inside you. But those are all things that can keep you from stepping over the original threshold, which is you actually have to get in the game. And when you get in the game, you got to play. So not being so caught up in the ideas that exist up here, and not necessarily the ideas as much as it is perceptions and thoughts and narratives about you and your art and what you create. Allowing yourself to just be the creator that you are. And I think being able to move in that is just, even though I could say that I've been somebody who has been very much on the sidelines, I've also very much been somebody who has always been consistent and passionate about what I do. And all the fulfillment for me has really came in my own creation process. Those moments with myself where I push myself past my original limits and I do make something, and I just feel good creating. I just feel good about checking that box of being like, I made the attempt, I actually tried. And, there's a lot of different ways to perceive it. There, like I said, once you enter the game, then the standards, they do begin to change. They do begin to evolve, and, you have more data for, you know, the intellectual logic side of your brain to take and process back and get in that feedback loop of, okay, what needs to actually be adjusted? Where do I actually get better at this now? Where is the refinement process in my craft? But it's like, when you never actually check in the game, you never actually know. If you never actually make the video, or you never actually make the song, and you don't see whether the reaction is, bro, that was really good, that shit was fire, or it was nothing at all, quiet, nobody even looked or responded to it, or even somebody saying, bro, this shit is trash, then you actually get the opportunity to adjust. And sometimes it's not that what they said about it being trash was true. Maybe it is, but at least you get the opportunity to understand, okay, now I can respond to that, and I have choices there where I get to respond of, oh, well, because they said it was trash, or because no one acknowledged it and it had no likes and it had no views. Am I gonna hang my jersey up and exit the team? Not go back to the sideline, but hang my jersey up and just be done with it. Then you get to respond to that and find out that process within yourself. But that's a natural process that creators go through. So just believe. And what starts as belief then can move into a state of knowing, because then when you actually do the thing, you start to find out what is your truth, what is actually true for you, and what that actually looks like. And it's like, you know, whether it was no views or whether they said it was terrible, you know, you're like, well, there was something extremely therapeutic about making that. Like, I was in a place of fulfillment when I made it. So does any of that really actually matter about what it says, or what correlations I could say, like I was saying, on a deep root level about me and about the art and all this other stuff? The original thing was that when you created, you felt that sense of fulfillment. You felt the passion and you felt the enjoyment, and you're like, man, it's fun to play the game. It's like, no one really signs up, you know, as the most fearful as people could be, skeptical of themselves, all these different, you know, questions that people have. People don't sign up to get on the football team or the basketball team to not ever play. They may be on the sideline shaking in their boots, nervous. Used to see that back in the day. You see people who don't want to get in hitting drills and tackling drills. People that don't actually want to get in 7-on-7, don't want to get on real team versus team. They don't want to go play pickup or different stuff. There's a nervousness about their actual execution or what they're actually going to do in the game. But the reality is, they love football, or they love basketball. They love the game. They actually, somewhere in themselves, they see themselves doing it and having fun doing it. And sometimes we're very much the same with art and the creation processes, where it's like something in you, which I would probably refer to as that intuitive level of you, that desire, you know, like going back to the concept in The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, that when a person has a desire in their heart, it's because it originated in the soul of the world. And just that concept of our desires don't just come at a whim, they come from the realest place, the most authentic place. So not getting off track from that and understanding, okay, if the desire gets placed on your heart, then, you know, you didn't just, you know, sign up to not play. And that's what a lot of us do to ourselves. And then there is a frustration for not being where we're at and not doing what we want to do, but also it becoming a conversation about responsibility and understanding that it is both responsibility and accountability to understand that you are suffering by not doing what you want to do, by not creating and having that energy in you that wants to just bring something forward to the world, and you not acting on that. So it's you not acting on that, and we, you know, I myself, like, there has to be a level of accountability that says, okay, I'm the only one holding this up. There's no real gatekeeper, especially not nowadays. There's no gatekeeper on the fact that you can just create. You can just make something that maybe is bad or maybe does suck. There's no gatekeeper on that. You can make something great or you can make something terrible, but not creating that all is a frustrating place to be. And just adding in all these different scenarios and standards and this level of comparison is frustrating. It's frustrating for a person. But, like I'm saying, it's our own doing. Just being clear about that. It's not anybody else's, fault that you're not doing what you want to do. It's yours. Humbling, but that's where all the power's at, because that means you have the power to change it. I really resonated with that today, of seeing that. And so Immortal Minds on YouTube, he had posted, it was a different topic, but he was kind of getting to that same conceptual point that, man, you got this like God energy in you, the energy of creation that exists within you. And when you're not using it and acting on it, then there's like that needs to flow. But when you're not using it, you become that dam that's like damming up the energy. You stopping all the energy. You stopping it from flowing, the creation process. And I think sometimes we question whether or not, like, why does it matter? Why does, and let's just be real, even though our higher self, what really is in our core, doesn't really resonate with this, there is those thoughts of, it's like, why does, quote unquote, insignificant me, why does it even matter that I create this janky video or this song that ain't that good? Or why does it matter that I make the painting? Why does it matter that I make the beat, or, the multitude of things that people have the ability to create? Why does it even matter? For one, I think that's a very hopeless thought process sometimes that we can attach to. But it's also a very unrealistic one, because it insinuates that you have no value. It insinuates that your unique life experiences, for some reason, that they're not worthy to participate in the game. And they 100% are. You are a participant. You are alive. You are a part of this. As low value or high value as you feel, every single person has a role to play in not stopping what could happen before it even does. It's like, how many dreams has tomorrow killed, and how many dreams has fear and doubt and anxiety killed before? It wasn't like, oh bro, I went so hard and it just didn't work out. I did so much and it just didn't work out. I don't necessarily believe in that, because I don't hear a lot of that. When I hear people say like, nah, I really took it there, they get something out of it. Usually they get what they want out of it over a long enough time span. And there's also that level where it's like, it's all trust, man. It's all generating the self-trust, and that's why it's important to create from wherever you're at, because you become your own proof of product. You allow yourself to be your own proof of product. You find out that however something is received, it truly don't matter. But there was a loyalty process. There was a process of self-love that existed in the ability that was like, man, I just wanted to make something, and you actually did. There is a connection between you and self, you and a younger version of you, you and a future version of you, and you in the present moment. That was like, I'm gonna bring all this into one truth in this moment, and I'm just gonna stand on it, and I'm just gonna create regardless. And I think that's important right now. I don't fully understand why, but I do know that that's important. Like observing the world and just seeing how quick you can get pulled out of your own truth and your own energy. If you accept that, if you decide to be a participant in that, because it's not just happen without our acknowledgement or our attention or our intentions or our energy. Like we become a participant in these beliefs that it's like, it don't even matter, or there's so much going on in the world. TikTok about to go away. All the platforms we see, they can just be gone at any second. Man, people are already so far down the road and I got so long to go. All these different things that stop you from just creating, from just doing what you want to do. Sometimes it has to get like hammered into our head until the suffering is so immense that you realize and it becomes clear to you that, wait, I have to do this. Like a lot of physical material things can change, but if I don't do what I'm inclined to do, then on a creative level, I'm still gonna suffer from this. I could have tons of money, I could be broke, I could have, career success in other areas, but I'm still inclined to do this thing that I've been wanting to do since I was a kid. Like, all those things could be present: the money, the career, even a woman or a man, or great relationships, different stuff like that. It's like those can all be their own, they can be their own things that are going well for you. But when you're not listening to that inner voice, you feel it. And that was like one of the things that I talked about in the video. The first one of this year was just like, don't be at the end of this year and still have all the stuff that's on the plate, and then you just bring that to the next year, and it's like, I knew 12 months ago this was on the plate, but I didn't acknowledge it. I didn't take any action on it, and now it's still on the plate, and I still feel, that level of frustration for not doing it. How many people that we see walking around that are elders or are older, that you kind of see that life force kind of diminished out of them because they accepted a lot of different truths that weren't actually theirs. Like they had dreams, they had hopes, and they had goals, but for some reason or another, they chose to believe in the idea that it was not in their power, or they believed in that illusion that it wasn't in their power. And now you see them and it's like there's just a dullness to it. There's a dullness to their perception about the world and reality and them and the future.